Usually for these types of videos I'd have some sort of script planned ahead. However, in this case I do not. All I've done is write down notes on the various idents I'll be covering, so if you have a problem with that, don't come crying to me. So Christmas, yeah? Interesting year. Well, not interesting year if you don't count the fact that we've been through basically another waft of shit, essentially. Nothing has actually been great in whatever terms great could be described, but whatever. So, Channel 5 Christmas idents. For majority of the years since 1997, they've been pretty good. Having a new Christmas ident for basically every year leading up to, well, what we have now, which is crap nonsense. That's all I can describe it as, crap nonsense. So, we're going to start in 1997 and work our way up. Expect this to be a relatively long video. So 1997, the idents channel launches in March, and we have December batting around 9 months later. So, what are the Christmas idents? We're in the same vein of the normal idents, except we have some Christmas iconography slotted in. The rotating 5 logo from the original batch has been wrapped in wrapping paper, or Christmas lights, or Christmas tree decorations, or whatever style of Christmas trees are in, or whatever the crap. There's also a highly intricate snowflake, which now that I think of it may actually harken to 1998, and if that is the case I do apologise. And this was harking back to when idents were made by hand rather than actually being animated or filmed with humans, which is what some of the big channels of the day were doing, like Channel 4. And obviously Channel 5 were filming balloons, and ITV was harking to hearts motifs. Well, not really. Well, they were using humans for some idents, in some regions obviously, but Channel 5 were basically doing whatever the hell they wanted, because they're Channel 5. In 1998, the idents were exactly the same thing, although I think they added that snowflake thing I was talking about earlier. Otherwise, they're still nice Christmas idents, and even if they were reused to another year, which they inevitably were, I'd actually wouldn't mind, because they're pretty good idents. 1999 was when Channel 5 went for a rebrand, dropping the abstract nonsense they put on screen with celebrity nonsense, so virtually no difference. And the Christmas idents were actually less poignant to the entire concept, with idents featuring elves packing up toys, or angels, or something like that. I guess the elves and angels are supposed to represent celebrities. However, there's Father Christmas in the batch, which I guess he does count as a celebrity, because he's bloody Father Christmas. Elves and angels are a bit of a more questionable taste for Christmas idents, but who cares, it's Christmas. 2000 was when the celebrity idents were updated a bit, after a year, no less. A tear in the wall was the centrepiece for the Channel 5 logo, and of course it seemed obvious how Christmas was going to go. Instead of the normal bloody bastard celebrities that were on the idents, instead you have Father Christmas doing some Father Christmas stuff, like falling down a chimney, or waking a kids up, or something else, because the kids are sleeping, god damn it. And they changed the background to an actually smart idea of having it be wrapping paper with some patterns on it, which in the context of Christmas is practically ingenious when you consider that your whole ident package revolves around torn paper. The new map concept in itself sounds like a continually hellish sort of hellscape. Well, at least back in 2000 it would have. And 2001 was the last Christmas idents with the original Channel 5 logo. It seems like 2001 was also the year in which Channel 5 tried its hardest. The logo was the centrepiece above a snowy town somewhere in possibly the Midlands or, I don't know, Alaska or some shit like that. For some reason it looks like the logo of Meridian Television, which was the ITV region serving the south of England. I don't know why, but I kinda like it. And the ident sets are actually pretty great as well. And there's sets including a girl who becomes a fairy going up off a tree, some onlookers looking at the 5 logo, and some man flying above the town with an umbrella. It's a great set of idents, and it actually shocks me about what we would do exactly a year later. I can't look over the fact that it looks like the Meridian logo, but I can't complain because the ident set makes it distinctively different from Meridian. Not to take away from the fact that Meridian was essentially dead at this point. 2002 saw the arrival of the new lowercase logo, which obviously came after the plain 2002 efforts featuring the old 5 logo again. This rebrand also brought out some of the worst idents on British television, alongside UK Gold's 2002 idents and BBC One's 2017 idents. Seems like 2002 was a bad year for Christmas idents. Channel 4 didn't try, neither did ITV. BBC Ones weren't inherently bad, but they weren't inherently good either. And Channel 5's, well, they just had some Christmassy rubbish, with the logo appearing halfway through, with no background music. Didn't really work either because there was a Christmas ident featuring a nativity. And for all that you know, Channel 5 could be introducing Die Hard. They'd be saying strong language and bloody violence with children singing Mary Has a Little Lamb or something. Rubbish, I think. It's a relatively lazy way of going about Christmas idents, and it's interesting considering they change it up for the next couple years. Bah humbug. 2003 offered, well, relatively the same thing as last year. However, there was a new concept of batch of idents that was seen too, which depicted a drive by some folk, either a man or a woman or a couple, take your pick, who were driving to Bethlehem, which in this universe is apparently in Wales. It's high budget according to TV Arc, but to what extent is relatively unknown. And they were used in tandem with the 2002 idents, probably because they couldn't come up with something better. I mean, the concepts are rather interesting. One ident just saw a car drive past a sign that had reindeers on it, or some bollocks like that. Others don't even communicate Christmas, like driving past a man and a sheep, driving past, I don't know, three wankers trying to hold up a Christmas tree, and some other variant with the sign leading to Bethlehem, and for some reason they've coloured the 5 logo in red. But it's Christmas. Anything's possible, am I right? But they basically are like the 2002 idents, except there's a small storyline to it. And if that was all they could come up with, then it's another bar humbug from me. 2004 was when Channel 5 grew some balls and decided to do something different. They dropped their rubbish idents and replaced them with better idents. Not the best, but better by a long while. We saw the 5 in situations that were beyond the concept of normal human understanding, like getting eaten by a shark, or being as a neon light being reflected by a puddle or literal fleshy organ of a baby. And the Christmas ident was a 5 logo being sculpted out of ice, surrounded by children with sparklers, fireworks, and is eventually burnt with Roman candles because duppity-doo. It's a definite improvement from 2002 to 3, but it's nowhere near topping 2001, I don't think. And I don't think we'll see one that tops 2001 for quite a bit on this list. And they did the exact same thing in 2005, because they couldn't be arsed. Or the budget was wearing thin, because bloody typical of Channel 5, bloody running out of money. It's not a bad ident, but we've seen it before, so a third bar humbug. 2006 saw another set of idents for the channel, where they gave the abstract idents, or whatever you want to call them, a kick in the boot and replaced them with some idents representing emotions. Stuff like the balloons representing the idea of flying away or whatever, and a car window representing feeling the H2O in the air that you're breathing in every bloody day of your existence. The Christmas ident was when Channel 5 supported a campaign to help homelessness, which would be nice, and they'd repeat the effort in 2018. And they would decorate scarecrows, letterboxes and other such crap in Christmas lights. And there's a word "give" on the side of a boat. And the biggest surprise to anybody who's interested in idents, the 5 logo made an appearance after nearly a year. Not too much a bigger a deal when we're talking about that Channel 5 is Channel 5. They're the 5th most important. Nobody could care about them other than people who watch them, which probably tended to be lonely people who are possibly divorced. This is 5 we're talking about here, not the BBC or ITV for that matter. I am particularly wondering how they managed to pull off that shot of the 5 logo over a cityscape. But to be fair, we might possibly never know, because the biggest question is, who the hell cares? And the next year was the last Christmas was the 2002 logo, and it was a complete and utter mess. And a funky beat and some swirly Christmas effects that had some rubbish stewed in, like icy swirls and gold Christmas trees with candles and the like. It came complete with romantic Christmas television films from America, which is a curse that the channel has failed to break. Still, in 2023, they're showing yet another TV film when a mother tries to save her daughter for being kidnapped by a stranger or something, I don't know. At least it's different from last year, which is more than what the 2004-05 set could do, so I'll give them that. 2008 was the first Christmas ident for the uppercase 5 logo, which I've already iterated is one of the better logos 5 have put out. The same can be said for the idents, which is a truly remarkable show of talent made by the design firm Dixon Baxi. I love that. I love the idents. I've iterated it before, but in scripted form, which is arguably not a better form for me. However, I'm not really convinced on the Christmas idents though, which is clearly modelled on the presentation rather than the actual idents, which is more swirly effects than all, and I don't know, more patterns and rubbish and stuff like that. Yeah, it's nice, but it just looks like the previous years of Christmas idents, just with a more coherent message to it. and actually followed through with the set. Because the previous year's idents didn't even match in with the emotions idents, they were just nice effects. I wouldn't be surprised if they kept the going motif of the channel logo being replaced by emotional words. They would have used the word give again, probably. The background change is nice though. Ugly pearl and grey brown motif to a more lighter mood of light blue and purple. Actual purple for that matter. Maybe they were doing something good for Christmas. That's Dixon Baxi, I mean. 2009 was seeing how five were twisting the nut in their presentation, which were moving the creative idents and replacing them with celebrities. Again. If in doubt, use the celebrities, as Five always seem to do. They made the logo bigger and slanted it to the left, slightly, which wouldn't be as prominent until they'd do it in a few months after Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, they had some idents with robins mucking around, as they do. These were designed by Squash and Stretch, or Stretch and Squash, I can't really tell. They were designers of the extra chewing gum adverts. And remarkably, for Channel 5 Christmas idents, they had a whole other variant. That would have been impressive if they didn't make 3 variants of their 1997 idents and their 2004 to 5 ones too. They're on the 2001 idents, which still kick ass. Nothing here has beaten them just yet. Which is strange because the 2001 idents would have made great 2008 Christmas idents. That is, if Channel 5 could actually be asked. Actually being asked is basically Channel 5's basic Anubis Reliebus or something. However, they made it even worse with the appearance of Russell Brand lookalike Justin Lee Collins in a special ident for Heads or Tails, a game show no one remembers and nobody cares about, and his chat show. At that time he met Steven Seagal, and Steven Seagal's a wanker, we all know this by now. Even then the ident wasn't even that good, it wasn't even Christmassy. The only Christmassy part about it was when Lee Collins put down a present in replacement of a massive coin with the 5 logo on it. Oh yeah, and that 5 logo is also slanted if you really needed to know. Bloody bar humbug. 4th time coming this time. 2010 was sadly the last Christmas of the 2008 logo. Possibly the worst idents of the Christmas time of this logos yet. The Jack in the Box concept when it's winding out. Some terrible, colourful 5 logos come out of it. I swear the only Christmassy part about it is the Jack in the Box having a jingly Christmassy tune to it and that guy wearing a Christmas sweater. Oh yeah, and this was also the time that Northern and Shell acquired the channel from some German firm, headed by Richard Desmond. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. A man who already owns a handful of pornographic channels on Sky should not run Britain's 5th terrestrial TV channel. But he did, for 3.5 sodding years, with no trace of Dixon Baxi in their wake. I hate even more because Desmond transformed the channel from a relatively minor sort of general entertainment channel for people who are basically anti-comedy or pro-documentary or whatever, to a reality hellscape that they'd become once Desmond had made his stamp on the channel. Sodding bar humbug for the 5th time. 2011 was just sad, let alone Christmas. Desmond had rebranded the channel back to Channel 5 because the word 5 wasn't specific enough for him. It probably wasn't specific for him enough personally. which isn't surprising because Richard Desmond, as we all know, is an absolute wanker. The idents in general weren't particularly remarkable. The VIP ident in particular, a low point in terms of representationalism of the channel's output. Christmas was possibly even worse. It's set in the studio as you would have expected and has the 5 logo as a bauble amongst other baubles while it's snowing. There's even a nice sort of tag with a Christmas present sort of thing saying Happy Christmas. That part's just kind of working the screen into a sort of fixture, and considering the fact that the baubles take up more screen time than the actual screen, the screen might as well have just been shot and murdered. It just feels really plastic, like the channel went through a plasticator, went out looking like, it just looks like MTV really, but with some actual programming slotted into the parts sometime. Should definitely want to campaign to get MTV back into a music channel, because 4Music was essentially becoming them. But that's going off topic. These idents are not particularly great. In 2012 they reused them again. I really am confused as to how Channel 5 managed to pull off at least 3 variants of their Christmas ident in 2001, but could only pull off 1 variant in 2011. But it's just, no one is getting anticipation from these idents. It's just the same thing as last year. There's no additional idents. It's just for one. No one's getting anticipated by that. And in 2013, oh, you cheap bastards. I'm in purgatory, isn't it? The BBC Two Christmases of 08, 09 and 10 again. God damn you, Channel 5. You're my worst enemy. Goddamn Richard Desmond can suck my ass as well. Well, at least in 2013 they actually had some other variants. Not of the ident, but of non-Christmassy looking idents of some particular kind. There's one promoting Lady Gaga and the Muppets, which is an event on TV I'd only expect to end up on Channel 5. Makes it even worse when you realise that back in the 80s they were on Channel 3 or ITV. Cozy, yes. Memorable, maybe not. That's why I'd say when looking at the DFS advert. Remember, this was when the channel was doing channel sponsors, which is essentially when a brand of some kind would sponsor the entire channel rather than just a program. And if they did that, they'd have the chance to make a special ident. McDonald's did it, Nokia did it, Stoptober did it, Visit England did it, DFS did it a lot, and no one seemed to stop them. Even Mission Impossible did it, and I'm not even sure Tom Cruise would even approve of that. Especially when you think it's on Channel 5 of all places. In 2004, finally, Channel 5 actually did something different. Some new Christmas silence to boost. This thing was clearly inspired by Disney's Frozen, another propaganda machine for Walt Disney Company, which came out in the same year and is clearly some sort of weird buzz too. It's not really a Christmas ident looking back at it, it's more like a winter ident, when the ice and virtually no Christmas tree or lights presents to be seen. There's no Christmas lights, no presents, not even any snow for that matter, just ice and coldness. Looks eerily like Celebrity Big Brother's idents. Well, for that one year in, I think, 2013. Or the start or middle, I don't really know. Remember, this was when Channel 5 was putting out Celebrity Big Brother 2 times in the same year. Other than the rubbish Christmas ident, there's one for channel sponsorships. 2 of them this time. DFS returned to advertise themselves, and there's TK Maxx, or TJ Maxx if you're American. However, it's a much better Christmas ident than Channel 5's Christmas ident, which is actually a bit impressive. I'm telling you, if a shopping firm can make better Christmas idents than your goddamn channel, you need to take that thing back to the drawing board before you put that ridiculous mess on my TV screen. 2015, and it was the final hurrah for the Desmond logo. Possibly good, possibly bad, I don't know. 2015 was the final hurrah for Desmond's logo, as the channel would take a big rebrand in 2 months' time. What there was room for, however, was Christmas. This ident, for the first time, probably not first time when you consider there's other special variants of the main ident, but the Christmas ident would take place outside of a studio for the first time. The first time for the Christmas ident, at least. And last time, actually. It's very red, very snowy, and very Channel 5, I guess. It's more Christmassy than last year, so we can give them that. The only thing I don't like about the idents is how they've managed to beat S4C in terms of idents. At the time, we turned to making live action Christmas idents with virtually no creativity in them. Makes it worse when you realise S4C's 2014 idents were better than Channel 5's. Honestly, you could put S4C and Channel 5 up in a sort of competition to see who had the better Christmas idents of that year. S4C probably would have won most of them, but who am I to argue? 2016 was when Channel 5 had another rebrand, swapping out their Desmond logo for a Channel 4-like ident, or logo. Makes it even worse when you realise they were more inspired by Channel 4 with the idents. No logo and just symbolisms of the idea of 5 things appearing at some point at the same time. All those interesting points of the idents being complete rubbish. Maybe the Christmas idents could have added some sort of flair. Well, nope. Channel 5 seemed to have gone for the old technique of just not bothering with a Christmas ident. However, the exception was Christmassy presentation with snow and Christmas trees and other stuff. Which even that isn't good enough when half of them is just a changed background and the other half is changed background with some snow and some 3D snowmen, reindeer, trees. This probably was stock, to be fair. I wouldn't be surprised. Channel 5 is literally the definition of a cheap channel. But no Christmas idents makes it feel completely and utterly useless. So basically Channel 5 did be Channel 4 of the 2004 to 2014 sort of approach of not giving an arse. Yeah, Channel 4 had no Christmas idents from 2005 to 2011 until 2012 saw special idents for the snowman before 2013 and 2014 were the arrival of no Christmas idents, piss off, go home. Was Channel 5 going to do the same thing? Oh, you'd see. 2017 was when Channel 5 actually tried for once. Well, not once. They did in the past, but it seems like they didn't want to. We had an Advent calendar one for Christmas, which was based on, you guessed it, counting down to Christmas Day. These would be good idents if they actually had something different behind each of the doors, but they don't. They just slowly change as the days go by with no payoff apart from the exploding Channel 5 logo with glitter at the end. Honestly, it's just repetitive. Just count down from 1 door to 2 doors, 3 doors, and 4 doors with nothing behind them, and it just makes me want to jump out of a second-story car park in Manchester. Who would have thought it would be a massive bar humbug? Well, guess what? It was me. That was my point. That was my decision. That was what I do. 2018 was when Channel 5 met their inevitable fate. The fate of becoming a John Lewis advert. BBC One were doing it, so Channel 5 got in on the act and decided to tell a story about a baubles journey home to reunite with his other friends. He inevitably is a part of a box of 5 baubles, because you've got to be consistent with these sort of things. Even if Channel 4 had changed their idents by now to something a bit more funky with a 4 giant. The animation is nice, and I'd bloody expect that from a public broadcaster, and not cheap animation made by a sweatshop in Hong Kong for a tenner. I would prefer if these were animated idents that followed the 5 of something theme, like 5 crackers, 5 stockings, or 5 baubles. Obviously, they could have been good, and if they did that, I would have called them better than BBC One's idents. They are still better than BBC One idents, but I'd still say Channel 4's are better. However, they're not better than the 2001 idents. They're still better in my book.
Jim gets a rather unexpected response to his
2019 had a different set of idents in mind, with the logo taking the form of a set of houses and an ice rink of something, and what appears to be a fun fair. There's also a daytime and nighttime and an afternoon variant. There's even an unused ident for what happens to be the middle of the night, judging by the sense of darkness and ambience. No wonder they didn't use it. It seems more winter Halloween than Christmas. There's also a special Christmas Eve variant that saw the appearance of Santa and his reindeers, with an update by the announcers to where the poor bastard is. A bit like the sort of thing UTV were doing back in the old IVC days when they weren't bought out by ITV and saw a Christmas Day update from where Santa is. And they are good idents, and they're better than BBC One's efforts for 2019, which you can look up for yourself, and I'd arguably say they're not good. 2020 saw a refresh of the channel's presentation, swapping the logoless idents to logo-full idents, basically treating it as a fetish object more than an actual logo. I've already expressed how I do not like these idents, and indeed I do not. So it shouldn't be a surprise that the Christmas idents aren't anything special too. Just some blind swaps of the light around the logo, some idents featuring Christmas decorations appearing around the side of it, and that's literally it. I mean, beyond the lights, what is there to say about it? The background doesn't even change, it's just the same. It's just the light that's changed. Remove the light and there's literally nothing Christmassy about it. It's bland. Just plain bland. And only for that, it's a big old, humongous bah humbug. 2021 was the same as last year. Again. Channel 5 seems to have a terrible habit of doing this. Once they have a Christmas ident for a set of idents they know they aren't going to replace for many years, they're going to use it again and again and again and again. I shouldn't be surprised. I'm still disappointed. And just ridiculous how Channel 5 went trying to make new idents every year, making the whatever left of their audience to actually have something to enjoy each and every year. and just using these pathetic sequences as idents. TV Forum seem to like these idents, but you'd be surprised at how idents become old as time goes by. Look at BBC Two's 2007 idents. They were a pretty good set of idents, but then they used them again for 2008, and again for 2009, and again for 2010, and we didn't try anything new until 2011, and then they showed them again for 2012, and again for 2013, and again for 2014, and essentially again for 2015, and again for 2016, and again for 2017. BBC Two is probably a worse candidate for lazy Christmas idents in the 21st century, but I'm not going to care. Should I even talk about 2022? Because it's just the same as last year, and the year before that. It's just borderline stupid, really. Because Channel 5 is owned by freaking Paramount Global, the people responsible for the Transformers franchisable things. If they can be asked to make a multi-million blockbuster, why can't they be asked with Christmas silence on Channel 5? In 2023, this year, have they improved? No, they have not. Still using the same idents as they have been since 2020, and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before bloody that. Knowing Channel 5, they probably use them again next year until the next rebrand happens. I don't care if it's a terrible rebrand as long as we get these pieces of wank off my television screen. But at least it's good because S4C have managed to beat them in quality. Sure, they've reused the 2014 idents, but they're certainly better than any Channel 5 ident ever since, I don't know, the creative idents. And better Christmas idents than 2014's, I'd say, and better than basically every single Channel 5 sort of aesthetic since 2020. And those are the Christmas idents for Channel 5 in the modern era. Rather, basically, since 1997. Over all of these, I'd say 2001s are still ultimately the best Christmas idents Channel 5 has put out. Just because they actually tried hard to entertain the audience. Makes it even funnier when you realise that 2002's idents were basically the complete and utter opposite of that in every single humanly way. Will Channel 5 improve? Will that idents get better? I somehow doubt it. And if we've learned anything, it's to make sure you actually care about Christmas. Not just putting on a Fasagian look as if you're forced to care about Christmas. In my mind, if you make a Christmas ident each year, it shows you actually care about the holidays, as BBC One do. But reusing idents each year just shows you have a contractual obligation to show Christmas idents rather than actually wanting to do it, which is what the BBC did back in the 70s and 80s. The people making those damn idents wanted to put them together because they had appreciation for art. Nowadays you have to go through tests to see how reactionary or sort of idents are. Hell, they're not even allowed to be original, they have to tie in with the upcoming programme this year. BBC One are getting guilty of this. We're doing it since 2020, we'll probably do it again next year with some other Julia Donaldson adaptation if we're completely lucky. And if you're also lucky, you might get my review of The Christmas Silence for this year later down the line. Again, I can't promise anything. Goodbye.
Here's a look at Christmas Day here on Pirate TV. We begin at 7 with our game show, where you must not wake the living chainsaw and have yourself chainsawed to death in Don't Wake the Chainsaw. Then, famous Hollywood celebrities will be competing to see who will come out from dancing on Sharp Objects at 8. At 9:15, religious freak Mr. Flander will be inviting his girls around for Christmas to impress his aging wife. Then we beg you to give us some money that will likely stay in our pockets and never be invested in actual programs, in Donate, or die at 9:45. After that, a comic classic from Peter Jackson that will never be forgotten, in Meet the Feebles at 11:15. Then we finish the night off at 12:35 with a look at films that will be sure to leave you scared and horrified for your life in Nightmares for Life. That's a very Christmassy Christmas here on Pirate TV.
Tonight, John will die in his sleep. He's warm, comfortable, and has his family by his side. Think. Don't drive tired.
Fires started by cigarettes kill more than any other. Put it out. Right out.
Because we take in only 20% of the information we see, our brains simply make up the rest. Sometimes they get it wrong. Tests prove that 96% of us think smaller objects take longer to reach us than bigger ones. Give motorcyclists a second thought.
There's one kind of fire that kills more than any other. Put it out. Right out.
That's all from us at Pirate TV. We'll be back tomorrow for our Christmas programs. Until then, sweet dreams.